The internet's been buzzing with theories about Deadpool 3 since Ryan Reynolds' announcement. Who's gonna be the main villain, and is Cable returning? But honestly, we're more curious about the plot, and it turns out that eagle-eyed fans have sort of figured out what it might be. So in this video, we're taking a dive into Ryan's Twitter account and the announcement video to figure out what Deadpool 3 will be about. Let's dive in. First up, the plot could be inspired by an Akira Kurosawa movie. When it comes to theories and deep dives into a celebrity's social media account, the MCU fandom's a cut above the rest. Now, we don't have any solid details yet, but fans are pretty sure they figured out what the upcoming threequels plot's gonna be. They referenced a tweet that Reynolds made back in January 2021, where he discussed the possibility of a Deadpool-Wolverine crossover. And apparently, it was supposed to be a buddy road trip inspired by Akira Kurosawa's 1950 classic, Rashomon. For context, it's considered one of the greatest films of all time because of how it examines the nature of truth. It tells the story of a murder and a sexual assault from 4 different perspectives, including Samurai's ghost. Back in 2021, fans thought that they'd missed out on something huge because Disney had just bought 20th Century Studios. But ever since Reynolds announced Hugh Jackman's return as Wolverine, they've got their hopes up again, and they believe that the Rashomon-style road trip will be happening after all. Now, for a deep dive into Ryan's follow-up to the announcement. Let's say that the road trip movie doesn't happen, because Marvel would obviously know that the tweet's making rounds on social media, and they're all about surprising the audiences with something they've never seen before. And this is where Ryan's follow-up comes in. After the announcement video broke the internet, he got together with Hugh and made a follow-up to try and answer some of our most burning questions. And it was one of the finest trolls we've ever seen since Rickrolling. You can kind of hear them talking, but their voices are so drowned out by the music that it's impossible for anyone but a lip reader to understand. Thankfully, content creator Jomboy Media, who's an excellent lip reader, figured out what the actors were saying underneath Wham's Wake Me Up. It turns out they were really careful not to reveal too much. Jomboy said that the actors used the most generic terms to describe the action sequences, such as Ryan saying he's chasing Wolverine all over the place and running through a lot of different places. Then Hugh chimes in teasing that there's a massive huge explosion, and then the pair mimic hacking and slashing at each other. What's more, Hugh revealed a detail that's more important than generic fight terms. Now, assuming Jomboy's lip reading is accurate, and that Jackman wasn't talking gibberish, there's a moment in the video where he says that they're in their prime. And this is going to be really important in trying to figure out the potential plot for Deadpool 3. Being in their prime means that there are plenty of comics to draw inspiration from. One of them's Uncanny X-Force. If the name's familiar, then you'll remember Deadpool's own X-Force from Deadpool 2. In the comics, though, it's Wolverine who forms the team to fight for the greater good of the mutants. But since it's already been done, we don't think they're going to do it again, unless Wolverine's pissed that Deadpool made the team without him. But there's another comic that we love more than Uncanny X-Force, and it's Cable and Deadpool, issue number 44. You'd think Josh Brolin would cameo for this, but he doesn't really need to be there, because in issue 44, Cable's dead, and Deadpool needs help filling the giant hole in his heart. Not only does his and Wolverine's rivalry take a front row in this comic, but it also throws them deep into a Hydra base. And since the MCU needs to integrate Deadpool into its universe, this comic could be just what it needs, along with 2013's Deadpool issue number 15, which is fun for a whole other reason. Up next, Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld reveals brutal Wolverine scene he wants in the movie. One of the people who's been in vocal support of Deadpool 3 is the creator of the character himself, Rob Liefeld. Before Marvel decided to bring the merc with a mouth into the MCU, Rob was reacting to the rumors floating around about the threequel. He even said that Kevin Feige came to his senses by signing Ryan and finally giving Deadpool the attention he deserves. But Liefeld was initially nervous about bringing the character into the MCU, and we get that. Deadpool's not a very PG character, and every parent ever would riot if they saw their kids watching him dismember some poor henchman. When Hugh Jackman got involved, though, Liefeld got pretty excited, and now he's pitched an interesting sequence between the two characters. In Comic Books Phase Zero podcast, he reveals that fans could expect something ranging from the Road 2 series to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We all know about Butch Cassidy, but the Road 2 series consists of 7 comedies that combine adventure, comedy, romance, and music. In addition to that, Liefeld also teased an R-rated scene that he wants to see in Deadpool 3, and it involves the two characters decapitating each other and then growing their heads back. If decapitation's not on the table, Liefeld said that he wants them to at least slice and dice each other and regrow their lost limbs. If anything, it'll make for fun headlines when the parents get outraged. Coming up, will bringing back Wolverine ruin his legacy? Now, this is an important question that not many people have touched on yet. While we're psyched that we'll finally get to see our childhood favorites get together on screen, there's also the Logan problem. Obviously, the news broke on the internet and made everyone come up with fan theories, potential team-ups, and death matches. We We've even seen someone say that Wolverine should go up against the Hulk, which is something he's done in the past. And these are really exciting ideas, but they don't address Logan's legacy. Some fans are concerned that Marvel shouldn't touch Hugh Jackman's tenure as Wolverine. He decided to hang up the claws and say goodbye to the character back in 2017 after Logan's release. It was assumed that the mantle would be passed down to the character's daughter, Laura, who's just like him in every way, except much better. Logan was one of the few comic book movies that weren't afraid to kill off the protagonist, but now that the MCU wants him back, it kind of feels that they're undercutting its emotional weight. Wolverine died, and there's nothing that can bring back that version of the character. It's the same as Robert Downey's version of Iron Man. Next, what can Marvel do to get around the whole legacy problem? There are plenty of ways to bring back dead characters without ruining their legacy. Case in point, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus showed up on Earth 616 because of a rift in the multiverse. Both characters had previously died in Spider-Man 1 and 2, and yet they made it to the MCU in a spectacular crossover. They even question how they're alive if they died in their own timelines. So, with the right story, Wolverine could just hop right into the MCU along with Deadpool in a multiversal event. But if we go back to Fox's X-Men movies, Wolverine's story has had several iterations in the last 20 years. The movies got so confusing that fans couldn't keep up with his origin stories and multiple subplots. And let's not forget Deadpool 2's post-credit scenes, where he traveled back in time to fix his biggest mistakes and ended up changing the ending to X-Men Origins: Wolverine, a movie that's notoriously dumped on by the fans. Finally, let's look at Logan and how Deadpool 3 can still honor Jackman's Wolverine. In Ryan's follow-up video, he mentions that the threequel's not going to touch what's been done in Logan, since it takes place in 2029. Now, even though Deadpool 2 made a direct reference to Wolverine's death in Logan, it takes place nearly 11 years before it, so it's likely that Deadpool 3 will take place before 2029, and probably won't even be in the same universe. The original X-Men movies were pretty bad with their timelines, with every movie changing things just enough to confuse everyone. That's why they needed to reboot the whole damn universe in X-Men Days of Future Past. It's the one great movie in Fox's X-Men universe that really did everything right. Now, Deadpool will most likely take place between 2024 and 2025 for one simple reason. The MCU as a whole is catching up with the real-world calendar. After the 5-year jump in Endgame, most movies and TV shows took place in the years 2024 and 25, so it's highly likely that Wolverine and Deadpool will meet in the same years. And if they're in their prime, then we're about to see a juicy R-rated gore fest. And that's a wrap, folks. Thanks for watching. What are your best storylines for Deadpool 3? And how do you think Marvel can get around Logan's legacy problem? Tell us down below. And as always, be sure to give this video a huge like and subscribe to our channel for more Marvel updates. We'll see you in the next one.